represented by Mr. Sadow, Mr. Samuel, Mr. Garland, and Ms. Nove. Is that your understanding? Is that correct? Okay, all right. And yes, Your Honor. All right. And this is in the conflict waiver I'm holding up right here, and it bears your signature on the second page, and the witness is Ms. Nove. This is the document I'm reading from. So did you have an opportunity to take a look at this document and sign this document? Yes, I did. It would have been dated the 10th of June of this year. So I'm holding up the documents that's been submitted to the court. So that's the documentation in Winfrey versus the State, 304 Georgia 94. And that's further been cited at 816 Southeast 2nd, 456, 2018. And then Mr. Sadow then represented Mr. Winfrey in Cobb County, where his offer plea was entered. Is that your understanding? Yes, Your Honor. All right. It further goes on. Your waiver further goes on to say that Mr. Sadow continued to represent you in this RICO case that's here in Fulton County after and under the two indictment numbers that the court has already referenced. So you've spoken to Ms. Nove and discussed the types of potential conflicts that could come up with a lawyer who previously represents a defendant who later represents another defendant in a case in which both are co-defendants. So did you have an opportunity to speak with her to your satisfaction on that issue? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, all right. The waiver also further enumerates 6 points. The first one is the state could offer to dismiss the case against one defendant, reduce the charges, or agree to a lower punishment if that co-defendant would testify against the other.
Wow.
You understand that? Yes, sir. You also understand, number 2, that a witness might say something or evidence might come in helpful to one co-defendant but harmful to the other. She talked with you about that, correct? Yes.
They want Gunna to tell.
The lawyer may want to use a defense theory,
We ain't doing that.
witness, evidence, or argument that is helpful to the lawyer's current client, but harmful to the lawyer's former client. You understand that? Yes, Your Honor. 4, during closing argument, the lawyer may want to argue that the evidence against his current client is less than evidence against the former client. You understand that? Yes, Your Honor. All right, and then number 5, if there's sentencing, the lawyer may want to argue that his current client is less culpable than his former client. You understand that? Yes, Your Honor. And then number 6, the lawyer may have learned something from the former client that helps the current client but hurts the former client. You understand that? Sir, I understand.
This is what happens when y'all using the same lawyer. This type of conflict of interest may come in.
Potential conflicts might come up in this case. Is that correct with you? Mr. Kitchens, are you there? I froze up, I think.
This is what happens when y'all using the same lawyer.
He's back. Okay. All right, Mr. Kitchens, what was the last? Can you hear me?
And it's possible.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Represent one of y'all. The lawyer could be raising questions that probably make the other look guilty, so to say, or guilty or not, But so they basically making them sign off on that or agree to that. I ain't gonna say sign off.
Let me go over this last part here.
That they're agreeing to use the same lawyer.
The last thing I said was that Ms. Nove, did she go over examples of how these possible conflicts, the ones that I've enumerated in 1 through 6 on your waiver, might come up in this case? Did she talk with you about those and give you some examples? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, all right. Your waiver goes on to say that you understand these potential conflicts.
Way to go.
Is that right?
Jeffrey.
Yes. Okay. But you are certain that no actual conflict exists and that no actual conflict will ever exist. And that's your understanding. All right? Is that correct? Yes, sir, that's correct. All right, do you fully understand what Ms. Nove explained to you? Yes, Your Honor, I fully understand. Okay. Do you understand you have the right to select a different lawyer? Yes, Your Honor, I understand. However, you don't want you don't want a different lawyer, is that correct? That's correct. You want Mr. Sadow to fight for your innocence and freedom, is that right? That's what it says in the waiver.
Why they keep messing up on that part?
He's back, okay.
They fighting, they ain't giving it, they ain't going against Gunna. The
last thing I said, sir, was you choose Mr. Sadow to fight for your innocence and freedom. Is that correct?
For sure.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct. All right, and you waive any potential conflict and ask that the court preserve your right to choose the lawyer who you want to protect you. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. And you make this statement voluntarily, knowingly, and freely in the presence of Ms. Nove. Is that correct? That's correct, Your Honor. All right, and you declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing waiver is true and correct. Is that right?
Why they keep got him freezing up?
Did you hear the last thing I said, Mr. Kitchens? Declare. You heard me? Okay, so you declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing waiver is true and correct. Correct? Is that right? Correct, Your Honor. Okay, yes. All right. Do you offer this statement freely? Yes. Did anyone force, trick, or otherwise cajole you into entering this waiver?
Why they keep having it freeze up on some interesting questions he asking? Shit ain't no coinky dink.
Yes, I heard you, Your Honor. Let me go through this one more time. Do you offer this statement freely and voluntarily? No one otherwise forced or tricked you or in entering this waiver. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct, Your Honor. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Any questions on that state or anything that you want me to inquire about?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. We believe that satisfies any conflict from Mr. Sadow. And should Mr. Winfrey be captured, we would just ask the court to fire him at that time.
Yeah, I'll inquire about Mr.